Hello, my name is Bryan Hoddle. I'd like to welcome you to North Thurston Public Schools at South Sound Stadium. First, I'd like to thank Dr. James Koval, the superintendent of the North Thurston Public Schools, for use of this facility. I'm the sprint, hurdle, and relay coach at River Ridge High School. Our school has been open 7 years. We've won back-to-back state championships. We've had 23 individual state champs, and we've placed at the state meet in the top 4 8 times. Today, I'll be telling you not only the whats, but I'll be telling you a lot of the whys. Remember today, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Let's begin. To help in today's video, I've brought 5 athletes that I've worked with, and I'd like to take just a moment to introduce them. This is Gabe Garrett, 5-time sprint champion from Washington, #1 decathlete in the United States in 1995 with 7,407 points. This is Doug Sells. Doug is a shot put champion from Washington and is also currently a decathlete for the University of Oregon. This is Razzie Mason. She is a 18-foot long jumper right now for River Ridge High School. This is Bryan, the Hershey National Champion at 200 meters a couple years ago. He is currently running for River Ridge High School. And this is Lakeisha Cockrell. She finished 5th at Youth Nationals this summer with a long jump of 17 feet 2 inches. Any successful athlete understands the importance of goals. Today I want to talk to you about 2 types of goals: outcome goals and performance goals. Let's take a look at both. First, I'd like to talk about an outcome goal. Here's an example for one athlete. I want to win the state meet in the 200 with a winning time of 21.8. Again, that is the athlete's outcome goal. Next, performance goals. Performance goals can be controlled by the athlete, and the athlete should focus on the performance goals over the outcome goals. For this athlete that would like to win state in the 200 and run 21.8, here are 7 performance goals. First, I will work on my push mechanics. Second, I will get consistent quality sleep at least 8 hours. And by the way, the national average for sleep in this country is 7.1 hours. A century ago, it was 8.9 hours. 30% of Americans are getting 6 hours or less of sleep. That's an important performance goal. Third, I will warm down and post-stretch after each workout. Fourth, I will not miss one single workout. Fifth, I will eat a well-balanced diet. Sixth, I will eliminate soda pop from my diet. And 7, I will keep my body hydrated at all times. And our general rule of thumb is to drink 1/2 your body weight in ounces of water. We talked in the performance goals about the importance of a well-balanced diet and staying hydrated. Today I'd like to talk to you about some of the nutritional and health thoughts that we give our athletes. First and foremost, before taking any supplement, you should see your doctor. Also, before your sports season starts, be sure and go in and get yourself a sports physical to make sure your body is ready for that athletic competition. Let's take a look at some of the nutritional and health thoughts that we share with our athletes. First, take protein within 45 minutes after a workout for better utilization of the protein. Next, if stress causes you to be nauseous, then eat a small piece of ginger root. Drink ginger tea, or if you don't like ginger, peppermint will also help as well. Third, 10 deep breaths can lower blood pressure by 10%. It can also stabilize your pulse, relieve tension, headaches, reduce stress, and relieve fatigue. Next, if you need a quick pickup, cut a lime and inhale that lime for a few minutes. The properties of lime are energizing and will perk you up. If you don't like lime, you can also use lemon, spearmint, or grapefruit. Next, need to be focused and think more positive? Inhale peppermint. Next, eat 5 servings of vegetables a day, which will cut your risk of colon cancer. You can cut your risk by as much as 40%, depending on what your diet is like. Next, muscle cramps can mean you have an inefficient amount of magnesium, potassium, calcium, trace minerals, or vitamin B6. You can also be dehydrated. Next, also start the day off with juice to detoxify the body. Lemon and water are excellent, but orange, apple, and grapefruit will do. The reason this works is because it stimulates the bile in the body. Next, soda pop has 16 teaspoons of sugar in it. This hampers the digestion, clogs the liver, and depletes energy and dehydrates the body because it's processing the chemicals. It hampers digestion for up to 3 minutes, which means that the food in the body ferments and produces gas and indigestion. When this happens, energy levels go down by as much as 20%. Next, sugar stops digestion, and in doing so takes away the natural energy that the body has. Sugar makes the body sugars in the body spike and then drop. Next, while flying on a plane, stay hydrated. Avoid caffeine drinks. They dehydrate the body. Get plenty of rest on your trip. Next, if you find yourself waking up at 2:15 in the morning, usually your adrenals are exhausted. You may need rest or supplements that will support your adrenals, such as vitamin B5. Next, your body re-energizes and repairs between 10 at night and 2 a.m. Sleep is critically important. Next, some people keep pulling the same muscle over and over. The number one reason is not warming up properly. Warm-up takes at least 45 minutes depending on the event. Warming down and post-stretching is also critically important. Next, keep your feet warm. Your feet are your body's thermometer. Warm your feet before you go to bed. Mild dehydration will slow down one's metabolism as much as 3%. Next, lack of water is the number one reason for daytime fatigue. Next, if you are thirsty, research shows that you are lacking 3% of your body's water supply. Next, if you are continuously having dry lips, you are lacking about 7% of your body's water supply. And last, 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. For additional information or questions, I would recommend you contact our nutritionist, Sarah Ayers at BFit Nutrition. You can reach her toll-free at 1-888-842-2049. You can also email her at discountherb@earthlink.net, or you can check out her website at www.discountherb@earthlink.net. Okay, first I want to take a look at some of the mechanical principles of running. Here we have Gabe in a dorsiflex position with his foot. He has the toe cocked up, the ankle's in a casted position, and we have the toe cocked up, which will help close this angle right here with the gastroc instead of the hamstring. Ideally, in the athlete, we're looking with an athlete with a pretty high gastrocnemius muscle. This will create a real nice long tendon down here that'll act like a rubber band. The head and neck are relaxed. The eyes are looking about 20 meters down the track. The back is flat and the tummy is tight. One important thing to remember is called oculopelvic reflex. And with Gabe here, when Gabe's eyes are looking down, his hips will come back under him, and that will put him in a good push position, which is really beneficial in coming out of the starting blocks or taking off in a sprint. When the eyes come up, the hips will tuck back under, and it will put Gabe in a good pull position. Warm-up is critically important, especially in a climate like ours here in Washington where it's so cool in the spring. There are three main reasons to warm up. Number one is prevention of injury. Number two is to promote circulation. And number three is to increase range of motion. At this time, I'd like to take you through some dynamic active warm-up drills that we use in our program. Our first drill is jogging on toes straight ahead. Here, Razzie is warming up the lower leg, which is critically important to prevent injury. Next, Razzie will come back with toes in. She'll be over-exaggerating toes in. We usually do these drills over 20 to 30 meters. Next, Razzie will go toes out. Again, a huge emphasis on warming up the lower leg. Again, Razzie will return with toes in and toes out and toes straight ahead. The next drill is knee up, heel up, toe up marches. Here Razzie is focusing on arms in opposition. She's focusing on keeping the heel up, the toe up, and the knee up. She's stepping over the other knee. She'll go about halfway and then jog it out. Again, heel up, knee up, toe up, arms in opposition. And she'll jog it out. Here Lakeisha will demonstrate Ashford's. She will bend over with her knees slightly bent and just step over the other ankle quickly. Lakeisha's back is flat. She will go halfway and jog it out. Again, the knees are slightly bent, and you can see that she's stepping over the other ankle, going halfway and jogging out. The next drill is pogos. Here Lakeisha will demonstrate. Lakeisha is doing a pogo movement, working on the strength of her feet. If you have athletes that have a lot of problems with feet, inserting the pogo drill into your dynamic active warm-up could keep down some of your shin splint problems and your lower leg problems. Here Bryan is going to demonstrate mock drills. The first one are single arm A-skips. Here Bryan is just stepping over the other knee. It may look familiar because this may be a skip that you did on the elementary playground. Notice the arms in opposition. Bryan still has his toe cocked up, stepping over the other knee, and arms in opposition. Next, Bryan will demonstrate a double arm A-skip. This time, Bryan will throw both elbows back in a double-armed position. Again, just stepping over the other knee with the knee up, heel up, and toe up. A double-armed A-skip. Next, Bryan will demonstrate a cross-armed A-skip. Again, Bryan will continue to A-skip, just stepping over the other knee. He will cross in the front and cross in the back, a great shoulder warm-up activity. Next, Doug will be demonstrating a single arm B-skip. This time, Doug will step over the other knee like Bryan did in the A-skip, but he will cast and grab the ground. Notice the arms in opposition, and again, the heel up, the knee up, the toe up. Next, he will do a double arm B-skip. Really emphasize on the double arm skips of getting the elbows back. Next, Doug will demonstrate a cross-arm B-skip. Next, Gabe will demonstrate clapjacks. Clapjacks are kind of a cross between a jumping jack and an A skip. Okay, the next drill Razzie will do will be jump and go. Here Razzie will jump into the air, one foot will land in front, one in back, and she'll go. Next, Lakeisha will demonstrate jumping Jills and go. She will do 3 and then take off. Next, Bryan will demonstrate step across. It looks like a karaoke, but Bryan will be pausing in the air briefly. Next, Gabe will demonstrate toe plates. Here, Gabe is pulling from the hamstring, staying tall, making sure his toe is cocked up. He'll come back, and you'll see that often we do the drills both directions. Next, Razzie will demonstrate straight leg skipping. Razzie does a great job. You'll see tremendous hip flexibility on her part. This is the kind of hip flexibility that we want to see in all of our athletes. Gabe will next demonstrate heels up backwards. Here Gabe is working at getting his heels as high as possible on the backswing. He'll turn around and we'll get another view of it. The next drill Bryan will demonstrate is called step and fall, and here Bryan has just slid to his right and he will go right down a line. Bryan will step out, bring the heel up to the buttocks, step out. Again, he's working on making sure that the foot stays casted with the toe cocked up, and the arms, as you can see, are in opposition. He'll go halfway and jog it out. Lakeisha will demonstrate side slides. Here, we're attempting to warm up the abductors and the abductors. You'll also notice she'll have a slight bend in her knees. The next drill Gabe and Doug are going to do are called A's and C's. These are mock drills. The next drill Razzie's going to demonstrate is called tight skirt. Here, Razzie's going to pretend that she has a tight leather skirt on. Again, notice the toe is cocked up. The next drill that Bryan is going to demonstrate is called foot fire. The next drill Doug is going to demonstrate is called paw in place. He'll go on my command. Go, go. Again, we're looking for as little backside mechanics as possible. What I mean by backside mechanics is we want as little backside mechanics as possible and keep everything in front of the knee. Go, go. We're going 2 this time. Go, go. Go, go. The next drill that Doug is going to do are tuck jumps. Doug will do 2 at the cone, 2 in the middle of the zone, and 2 at the other cone. We use this drill to fire up the central nervous system. After our warm-up drills, Bryan will then move out to the track and do what's called our 3 series. Here he's going to demonstrate 3 flying 30s. Again, just continuing to warm up the system before our workout, our actual workout begins. Today, for our demonstration purposes, we're using about 20 meters. Normally, we have these set up at 30 meters. After 3 flying 30s, Bryan will move up to the cone. He will pause and do a falling 30. He will fall and catch himself and go. The last sequence in the 3 series are standing 30s. And here Bryan will come up and demonstrate to you how we determine what his back foot will be in this sequence. Bryan, fold your arms in front of your body. The arm closest to the body is the quick side of his body. That's what his nervous system tells us. So he's going to start on this next sequence by putting this side of his body, the arm closest to this body, in the back position. So that foot, Bryan, will go back, and you'll be ready, and you'll go on my command. Ready, go. These are standing 30s. Again, Bryan has determined the backside foot by folding his arms and across his body. The arm closest to his body is his back foot. Ready? Go. After our 3 series of 3 flying 30s, 3 falling 30s, and 3 standing 30s, we then move over to a wall and do our dynamic active mobility work in the hip area. Here's the first one. It's called side to side. Razzie will demonstrate 4 fairly easy, and on her 5th one, then she will begin to really get after it. Make sure that your hips stay squared to the wall or to the fence. And then she'll move over and do the same thing on the other leg, where she does 4 easy and then 4 a little bit harder. We really stress the importance of warming up the hip flexor area to keep down those injuries. Next, Razzie will put her right hand on the wall, and she'll face this direction, and she'll do forward and back swings. The focus here is on the back swing, and the heel needs to come as close to the buttocks as possible. She also needs to be aware of that by doing this movement, she's going to fire the quadriceps. So again, she'll need to start out with 4 easy ones. Here, Razzie will demonstrate. And then she'll face the other way and do the same thing. Again, on the backswing, the heel will come as close to the buttocks as possible with 4 easy and then 4 hard. Next, Razzie will be demonstrating figure 8s. She will basically be drawing an 8 with her legs, doing again 4 easy and then 4 hard. You can see here that Razzie has spent quite a bit of time working on her hip flexibility, and that's what makes her such a great sprinter and a great jumper. Doug will next demonstrate our first sequence of hurdle drills, which we use for mobility work. You can use these with your track athletes. You can use these with non-track athletes. Our football coach at River Ridge used these with his football linemen, and he said it made all the difference in the world that year. Our first one is straight leg scissor skipping. Here, Doug is simply scissoring down in a skipping manner down the hurdle shaft with straight legs. He'll circle around, go back the back side. Then Doug will shift on around and this time do the same movement except have a bent knee. You'll notice that Doug has very good hip mobility, which allows him to get the foot high enough to step over the hurdle shaft. The next drill Doug is going to demonstrate is called 2 up and 1 back. It looks like this. Doug will go over 2 hurdles and then back. Again, we're focusing here on that lead knee coming straight up and not swinging around. If the athletes swing it around, we know they have some hip mobility problems. Now we're going to send Doug around and have him demonstrate what it would look like if an athlete is not bringing the knee straight up and they're swinging the lead knee. Doug, go ahead and swing the lead knee. That is lack of hip mobility. Again, see how he's swinging that leg? Okay, now Doug, go ahead and transition back into bringing that knee straight up so they can see the difference. The next drill Doug is going to demonstrate is lead leg and trail leg. Here, Doug will focus again on bringing that lead knee straight up the hurdle and bringing the trail leg in tight to the heel tight to the buttocks. The next drill that Doug is going to demonstrate is called over, over, back, back. Here Doug will take 2 lead legs and then take a back. Take 2 lead legs and then reverse back 1 hurdle. We also do both legs being lead leg and both legs being trail leg to develop both sides of the body. The next drill Doug is going to demonstrate are called zigzags. Your athletes may find they're a little bit sore in some areas that they didn't realize they had muscles in. Our next drill that Doug will demonstrate is called a continuous lead leg. Again, you can see the great hip mobility that Doug has. Let me talk just a second about hurdles. And one of the things that I would really highly recommend, especially with your young athletes, is to purchase PVC pipe hurdles. And the nice thing about PVC pipe hurdles is the kids won't develop any fear in hitting them because they'll just break apart. And what you need here is some basic PVC pipe and 6 elbows and you're ready to go. When you start hurdling early in the year, I'd also recommend that you set your hurdles in and lower them down, and you can adjust the height of the hurdles again by buying certain lengths of the PVC pipe. The elbows, by the way, will add about 3 inches into it. So again, when you're first starting with your hurdlers, bring the hurdles in, start them at 6 meters and lower them down a rung, and then go out to 6 meters 80, 7 meters 20, 7 meters 50, and so on. By doing that, you'll develop some great habits with your hurdlers. The nice thing about these PVC pipe hurdles is they come apart really easy and just fit back in. So again, if the young hurdler hits the hurdle, they're not going to develop any fear of the hurdle, and the fear can be your worst enemy. Also, teach your hurdlers to use both lead legs. That's critically important. They should not develop one lead leg over another. When we begin each of our seasons, we run what's called testing protocols on our athletes. We want to know what the strengths and weaknesses are of the athletes. Here are some of the tests that we use. We use what's called a 30-meter fly test. And a 30-meter fly is an actual running 30 meters with about a 25-meter lead in. And we actually time those. We also do a 60-meter fly test, a 150 stand, a 150-meter run off a stand, and we do a 300-meter stand, which the athletes really love. We also do a standing long jump, a standing triple jump, an overheads backwards throw, a between the legs forward shot put throw, 5 double leg bounds, and 3, 5, and 10 bounds. We won't demonstrate the 30-meter fly, the 60-meter fly, the 150 stand, or the 300 stand, but I would like to show you the jumps and throw testing. Again, I mentioned that we do a 30-meter fly, a 60-meter fly, a 150 stand, and a 300-meter stand. Here, Razzie's going to demonstrate a standing long jump test. She will use a 2-foot takeoff. She can push off the edge of the landing pit, measure, as in the long jump competition, the landing point of the heel. The next test that Doug will demonstrate are standing triple jumps. Doug will start with a 2-foot takeoff. Measuring will be the same as in the triple jump competition, and you will measure from the landing point of the heel. Again, it's very important that the athletes not be on their toe when they're triple jumping, or their patella tendons will definitely bother them. They need to land flat-footed. The next test that Bryan will demonstrate is an overhead backwards throw with an 8-pound shot put. Bryan, if he were in a shot put area, could be standing on the top of the toe board. he could leave the toe board when he throws in the process of his throw. Here Bryan will demonstrate an overheads backwards shot put throw. The next throw that Bryan will demonstrate in our testing is between the legs forward shot put throw. The throw again can be from the top of the toe board. The thrower may leave the toe board in the process of the throw, and I want to make special note of how flat Bryan's back is as he sits into the sitting position. The next test that Gabe is going to demonstrate is a 5 double leg bounds. Gabe will start with a 2-foot takeoff. If we are measuring it into the long jump pit, you would again measure from the landing point of the heels. The next drill Doug is going to demonstrate is 3 bounds from a 2-foot takeoff performed on a level track surface. It will be an alternate bound for the number of bounds in the test, which will be 3 in this case, and your measuring landing point will be the toe. The next test Doug will demonstrate will be 5 bounds. And the final test that Doug will demonstrate is 10 bounds. Again, focusing on landing flat-footed. One of the things that we've used are a lot of formulas in our training of our athletes. And what I'd like to do now is show you some of the formulas that we use that really motivate the athletes. The first formula is a 30-meter block. A 30-meter block will be a 30-meter fly time plus 1.0 seconds. The second one is a 60-meter fly. It would equal 2 times 30-meter flies plus 0.01. A 90-meter fly would be 3 times 30-meter flies plus 0.02. A 60-meter block would be a 30-meter block plus a 30-meter fly. And a 90-meter block would be a 60-meter block plus a 30-meter fly. I think you'll find these formulas fun to work with. One thing that's really important to know is the stride length and stride frequency of your athletes. So what we do is we take what's called trochanter measurements, and you can do it in 2 ways. The first way is to take it from Doug's belly button to the top shoelace. So we would be measuring from the belly button to the top shoelace. We do this both in centimeters and in inches because we will be using the inches one for our block settings. Once we determine what the distance is, we can do the actual trochanter measurement. This will help us give us a point, and we can go over, and what we'll do is we'll have Doug kind of lean his hip toward this direction, and we begin to reach for the little knob that is the top of the trochanter, and from that point we will measure directly down the shoe, both in centimeters and in inches. This is how you will measure the trochanter. And once again, if you're having trouble finding that point, go to the belly button to the top shoelace, and that will give you the approximate point so that you can reach in and feel exactly where that trochanter is. Oftentimes I'm asked, what should the order of your jumps training be in your training plan? Here's what I suggest for your progressions. You should always begin with jump ropes as your first progression. Your second progression should be in-place jumps. Your third progression should be short jumps, and those can be standing long jumps, standing triple jumps, or hurdle hops. Your fourth progression should be endurance bounds, and your fifth and final progression should be depth jumps. I suggest that you do it in that order so that your athletes don't get injured. Never start with depth jumps with your athletes. Again, start at the top and work through as your athletes get stronger and stronger. Our first jumps training progression is the jump rope. Here Bryan will demonstrate. Our next progression is our in-place jumps. Here Razzie will first demonstrate tuck jumps. Then she will do two forms of split jumps. First, a V split jump. Then a split. Our next training progression in the jumps are standing long jumps. Here Lakeisha will demonstrate. Also in our short jumps of our jump training progression are standing triple jumps. Again, be sure that your athletes land flat-footed. Also in our short jumps are hurdle hops. The next progression in our jumps training are endurance bounds. Here Doug will demonstrate. Again, be sure that your athletes land flat-footed. The next jumps training progression are depth jumps. Again, I caution you on the depth jumps to keep the depth of the jump fairly low until the athletes can handle it. Doug's a pretty seasoned athlete, so Doug's on about a 18-inch box. He will demonstrate a depth jump. He will hit and immediately rebound off the ground. Doug, could we do one more of those depth jumps, please? Our next set of drills are called multi-throws. These are compatible with real short sprints down in the 30-meter range or your block starts. The first throw Doug will demonstrate are overhead throws. Again, Gabe will sit down into a chair, have a straight back, and make the throw. Gabe will throw it back so we can get a little different view of it. The second of our multi-throws is hop forward, throw forward. And again, Gabe will come back with hop forward, throw forward. Our third multi-throw is two hops forward, then throw forward. Again, two hops forward and throw forward. Our next throw is just a straight between the legs forward throw. Our fourth throw will be hop forward, throw backwards. Hop forward, throw backwards. Our sixth throw will be two hops forward and a throw backwards. Two hops forward and a throw backwards. Again, two hops forward and a throw backwards. Our seventh multi-throw will be hammer hip. Gabe will bring the ball to the left hip and throw directly over the top. And then we'll bring the ball to the right hip and throw directly over the top. Our final multi-throw is step, 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 and throw. On this next one, Gabe, be sure and bring that heel close to the buttocks on the back leg. We usually start off by doing 4 throws per throw and work our way up as the athletes get in better and better shape. Next, we're going to move into some of our relay drills, but before we get into those drills, let's talk about the hand position that we would like to see from Bryan. Bryan's going to put his hand back. He's going to cock the thumb down, the fingers out in this position. By having the thumb down, it's easier for Bryan to get the arm up as compared to the old way of having the arm down. We'll also start with using 2-liter pop bottles because it'll force the kids to get their hands open. Then you can progress to the relay baton. Let's take a look at our first drill, and it's called Give It and Take It. Here, Bryan and Razzie will demonstrate. And we're encouraging Bryan now to get his hand up a little bit higher as he brings it back. Okay, our next drill is 2 batons. Here, Bryan, Razzie, and Lakeisha will demonstrate. Our next drill is quick draw. Here, Bryan will begin running. Razzie will position the baton so that when I say go, Bryan will quick draw the baton and grab it. Ready? Go. Again. Go. Okay, now let's pick up the speed a little bit on this. Ready? Go. Ready? Go. And that's quick draw. Our next drill is called 3 batons. Here we have Gabe with the baton in his right hand, handing to Lakeisha, the second runner, in her left hand, handing the baton to Razzie with the baton in her right hand, and our anchor runner Bryan with the baton in his right hand. Off to the side we'll have Doug, who we'll call the quarterback of the relay team. Bryan will take the batons, toss to Doug. Doug will then toss back to Gabe, and we'll keep the drill going. Okay, let's go ahead and give it a shot. Ready? Go. Hand, 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 toss, toss, hand, hand. Get that hand up nice and high. Hand, toss. Bryan, go ahead, just give it a toss like that. Hand, hand, toss. There we go. Hand, 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 toss, toss, stop. Next, what we'll do is we'll insert a second baton, which I will insert into the flow. Ready, go. Hand, hand. Just keep putting your hand back. Hands up nice and high, thumbs down. Stop. Bryan, if you could toss that baton back. And this time we'll insert a third baton and have 3 batons going. Ready, go. This is called 3 batons with 5 people. If your program's like our program, we have hard time sometimes getting our leadoff runner, Razzie, who will be coming in on the inside of the lane with the baton in her right hand, to really attack the second runner, Lakeisha. So what I've done is I've designed a drill called a relay attack drill, and here's the way it works. Normally, Lakeisha will mark off 18 of her shoes. So go ahead, Lakeisha, if you would just today, instead of marking off 18, mark off 16. At the 16 step mark, and again, we've taken it in 2 steps toward Lakeisha. Lakeisha then will again move up to her relay slot, and she'll be on the outside of the lane. Razzie will be coming on the inside, Lakeisha will be going on the outside, and Lakeisha, because she's going out on the outside, will be taking the baton in her left hand. Well, we're going to take the baton out of the picture here, and what we're going to do is we're going to have Razzie come in on the inside, Lakeisha go on the outside. When Razzie hits the takeoff mark, which I've moved in 2 of Lakeisha's feet, they're actually going to have a race to a cone. What this does is this will force Razzie to come in hard and Lakeisha to go out hard. And this has been a great drill for us. We call it the relay attack drill, relay attack drill. Okay, Razzie, go ahead. Go, and it's a race to the cone. Excellent, ladies. Again, what that did was that forced both Razzie, the incoming runner, to come in hard, and Lakeisha, the outcoming runner, to go out hard. Then, after doing this several times, we'll move Lakeisha's mark back to 18 of her steps, reinsert the baton back in, and we should see a good flow through the zone. That's the relay attack drill. Next, we're going to go through some med ball work with Gabe and Bryan. And what we're going to focus heavily on here is the torso area. Oftentimes, the torso area is overlooked, and you'll see runners almost leaning their chest forward, and that's a dead giveaway sign of lack of abdominal strength. Our first exercise that Bryan and Gabe will demonstrate is partner med ball sit-ups. Notice the tremendous strength in both of their abdominal areas in the way they're controlling the ball. Our next drill is called a 2-partner sit-up toss drill. The next drill, Bryan will be balancing on his butt side, and he will be holding his feet up and taking the ball back and forth. And then we'll bring Gabe into the picture and actually have him hold his feet this time and try it with his feet being held. And then again we'll have Gabe release his feet and try it without his feet being held. And you can see how tough this drill is to do. The next one is a pinch knee med ball roll. This is an extremely tough one to do. Again, Bryan's going to try to roll the ball back and forth, balancing on his buttocks. The next drill Gabe is going to do is a pinch knee med ball knee up from the buttocks. The next drill is a double knee pinch and lift from the side. It looks like this. As you can see, this is a real tough drill. Thank you, Gabe. The next drill is a sit-up backwards throw. Again, we're continuing to work on the torso area. The next drill is a sit-up roll straight leg toss. The next drill is a kneeling chest pass with partners. Again, this is a big timing drill here. Our next drill is called a back-to-back sit-up pass and a back-to-back standing pass. Here's the sitting one first. And here is what it looks like standing. The standing one's a little more difficult, so you'll want to start in a sitting position. The next drill is a leg toss with partners. Here the athletes will find that it's really key that you get the ball in a good position before tossing. The next set of exercises are exercise ball work. Here Lakeisha is going to first demonstrate ball swivels. You can do these while watching TV or sitting at a computer desk. And I can have her come up onto her toes as she does it. Our next drill I call torso ball wraps. And Razzie's going to tuck her head tight into the ball on this as she rolls forward and back. Our next drill I call back ball wraps. The next drill I call tummy curls. The next drill I call body chest extensors. And Lakeisha will rock forward and back, again balancing. And roll a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. Again, trying to balance. Our next drill I call alternating arm and leg. We're not only working on strength here, but we're working on balance. The next drill I call dinner tables. Razzie will come up and form a dinner table. The next drill I call walkouts. Now Razzie will begin to walk out, again maintaining balance, a great balance and arm strength drill. Our next drill are called pelvic push-ups. Our next drill are ball push-ups. Again, great strength and great balance is required for all of these drills. Our last drill is reverse ball push-ups. Here's what it looks like. Once again, another great drill for strength and balance. Next, we're going to go into some block work, but before we talk about the starting blocks, I want to talk to you about ground time versus air time. In the acceleration, ground time is about 2 times what air time is. From 20 to 30 meters, the ratio of air time to ground time is 1 to 1. From 30 meters on, your air time is 1.1 to 1.4 longer than ground time. Next, we're going to move into the starting blocks, and oftentimes the kids don't even know which foot to put forward. So I have 2 tests that we can use. First, Gabe is just going to stand with his hands at his side, and when I say go, he's going to fold his arms in front of him. Go. This is the quick side of his body. It reacted quicker. So this is going to be the back foot in the back block because this arm is closest to his body. The second test you could use, Gabe will put his feet at his side, right under his shoulders, and I'll just simply have him relax and push him forward, and whatever foot stepped first, that's his back foot. And as both tests show on him, his right foot is his back foot in the blocks. The other little quick drill I'd like to show you that's been very, very helpful, you can use a tennis ball or some kind of round ball, and Razzie's going to get down on 4s and she's going to put her hands right under her ears. And again, when we're starting, we want to focus on the first movement. We don't want to focus on the starting block. So to get her to focus on the first movement, she's already thinking first movement. When I drop the ball beside her ear and she feels it go by, she's going to turn her right hand and hopefully catch it. Ready? Okay. Let's go again. And we'll go again. And you can see that's a difficult drill for an elite athlete like Razzie to work on, so practice that one a lot. We mentioned earlier how important trochanter measurements in setting your blocks correctly. If you don't have trochanter measurements, you can use what's called the 23 rule. 2 of your shoes to the front block and 3 from the starting line to the back block. The 23 rule works pretty good, but if you want to be even more exact, you can use the trochanter numbers from block setting chart that you have on the screen. And if you'll look in the column that says trochanter length, you have trochanter lengths from 25 to 40. The middle column is the distance from the starting line to the front block. And the other line, or the other column on the far right, is the distance from the front block to the back block. And those go from 10.5 to 16.5. So if you had someone with a trochanter of 25 inches, the distance from the starting block to the starting line to the front block would be 14 inches, and the distance from the front block to the back block would be 10.5. Our first block here is called the Moy starting block, designed by Charles Moy. It's a great block that it does not require a tremendous amount of power from the athlete. So we're going to go ahead and bring Gabe up. Gabe has determined that his right side is the back block, or the back foot, and so he's going to move into the block. And you'll also notice that Gabe is right up on the starting line, which gives him a little bit of an advantage. And he'll first demonstrate just a standing start. And he also will focus here on bringing this back heel off. So the only thing Gabe has to do on go is punch the back foot into the block and go. Our next start is called a 3-point start, and this is the one that we use at River Ridge. Here Gabe will again move into the blocks, this time resting both hands on his front knee in a comfortable position. On set, he will touch down nice and high here on the top finger, and he will have this arm in a pre-cocked position over by the belt loop. And again, he'll repeat the sequence of punching the heel and getting up and running. Again, this block works great for high school hurdlers. Our last sequence of starts with the Moy is a standard 4-point start. And the only advantage that I see in this start, other than using the standard block, is that we have Gabe right up on the starting line. Now I'm going to make one small adjustment. I'm going to creep back Gabe's hand just a hair on the back side, and I'm going to tell Gabe this time to focus on the gun, which will be my go, but instead of focusing on the gun, Gabe, I want you to focus on your first movement. Set, go. Okay, just a couple things first about the block. We want this back block pad all the way down, and this one we can have either all the way up or down a rung. In this case, we're going to set it down one rung. And we've pre-measured Bryan's trocanters, and we're going to say that they're 38. So he's going to measure from the starting line to the middle of the pressure point of the pad, which will be right here in the middle where the screw is. He's going to measure 21 inches. And then he's going to go from the middle screw, or the middle point of this block, to the middle point of this block, and it will be 16. And I think you're set up just right there, Bryan. So we'll go ahead and throw the tape off to the side. And next we'll have Bryan stand behind the blocks. And what I will do is walk Bryan through a start and talk about a few things regarding the start. First of all, again, the rear block is usually at a steeper angle than the front block in order to present a surface which is perpendicular to the direction of the force application. The front block angle we have all the way down. We align the blocks in the direction of the run, so Bryan's going to make sure that his blocks are lined up straight and that they're pressed into the track so there's no slippage. Then he's going to go ahead and walk into the blocks, and he's going to line up his hands shoulder width apart. And he's going to bridge up nice and high on his hands. Bryan, if you could show us a nice high bridge up, and then go ahead and show him a flattened out bridge up. See the difference? We want a high bridge up. The head is relaxed. The toes and ball of the foot must be in contact with the track and firmly against the pedals. So in this case, if you'll notice here, we have Bryan's toe making contact with the track and the ground. That's very important. The next thing that we're going to look for is that the shoulders and the wrist are at a 90-degree angle from the ground, which in this case, Bryan is. On set, the rear knee will come up between 120 and 130. Go ahead, you can go back down, Bryan. The front knee comes up to somewhere between 90 and 100-degree angle. So if we could bring you up again, Bryan. Again, the front would be 90 and 100. The back would be 120 to 130. Okay, down. The wider the angle on both the front and the back leg, the less power needed. So we usually use 100 and 130 for our angles. We're going to place the calf on stretch in the rear block so that the calf and tendons will initiate a reflex when the gun goes off. So what I'm talking about here is we're going to bring Bryan up into set, and we're going to pre-wrap the back heel so that the Achilles area is on a stretch. So once the gun goes off, we basically have a rubber band that fires him off the track. So Bryan, you can go ahead and go back down and rest for just a second. There should be tension in the glutes and not the hams. So Bryan, if you want to go ahead and go back down into that position now that you've rested. And Bryan will have tension in the glute muscles, not the hamstring muscles. Go ahead and come up to set. The hips are above the shoulders. The arms are straight but not completely locked. The shins should be parallel to each other, and Bryan right now is maintaining pressure on both blocks. Okay, Bryan, do you want to go ahead and go down again? Now Bryan, when we take this start here, we're going to focus on the first movement, not the gun. So you need to be thinking right now what your first movement will be, not the gun. What is Bryan going to focus on here? He's going to focus on driving off both pads with a little longer application on the front pad. He'll split the elbows. And Bryan, do you want to go ahead and stand up and show him what splitting the elbows means? Go. So Bryan's going to split the elbows apart. Split them again. Go. And that will help lift the body out of the block. Okay, go ahead and go back down. He's going to punch the back knee, and the foot will cast slightly to prepare to push. So what I'm talking about here, Bryan's now again down in the start position. As Bryan brings this back knee off here, he's going to punch the knee forward so that he can push back. So again, it would look like this. So as I'm looking this way into Bryan, I'm going to look to see if I see the knee. If I see a lot of the thigh, I know that his first step is going to be a long step, which is going to cause braking forces. So if I'm filming as a coach, I'm watching for that knee punch up, the foot will cast, and then get ready to push down again. So again, he's in this position. As he comes out, he's going to punch the knee and push back into the track. And that's the beginning of what's called push mechanics. The rear leg is short and explosive, followed by a low heel recovery, and a lazy movement out of the back block will result in too long a first step, which will cause a blocking step. The front leg extends forcefully to provide a drive out of the blocks. Okay, Bryan, let's go ahead and take 3 starts. On your mark. Again, Bryan is beginning to focus on his first movement. Set. Go! Set. Go! Set. Go! Set. Go! I'm often asked about sprint problems and what do you do with them? What are the solutions to solve the problems? Well, I got together with Tony Vini, the current coach at Portland State, and with his help, we were able to put together the following list of problems and solutions that you as a coach may run across and need some help with. Problem number 1, a short first step out of the block. Solution, an active knee punch of the back knee. Problem number 2, poor acceleration. Solution, push mechanic work. Problem number 3, poor top end due to overstriding. Solution, frequency drills, more hip flexor work, long bounds, and downhill towing. Problem number 4, a weak first 3 steps out of the blocks. Solution, 3 bounds, 5 bounds, short jumps, single leg long jumps and single leg triple jumps, and depth jumps over hurdles. Problem number 5, poor transition from acceleration to top end. Toe and release at the 20-meter mark. Crown of football field runs, as they go over the crown, they will transition down. Problem number 6, exaggerated forward lean while running. Solution, torso work. Problem number 7, continual shin problems. Solution, have your athletes walk barefooted, towel pulls with toes, toe drills with marbles, warm up and warm down barefooted, rope jumping barefooted, short hops or pogos, or short pogo skips. Problem number 8, poor transition from corner to straight. Solution, race model work. Problem number 9, passive arms at the start. Solution, split the arms, and do block work into the pits. Problem number 10, side to side push from the blocks. Solution, punch knees straight through. Problem number 11, head pops up too soon out of the blocks. Solution, lack of focus, bring eyes up naturally to keep hips back and in a good push position. Problem number 12, weak hands. Solution, fingertip push-ups or squeeze a racquetball. Problem number 13, hips high or low in the blocks in the set position. Solution, 90 to 120 degree angles or 100 to 130 degree angles for your weaker athletes. Larger angles require less power. Be sure and press heels to the blocks. Problem number 14, moving forward in a set position. Bring hips straight up. Press heels to the blocks. At the end of every practice, we emphasize warming down and post-stretching. We emphasize post-stretching at the end of practice to relax the body and shut down the central nervous system. Again, some of the benefits are prevention of injury, promotion of circulation, and increased range of motion. So Razzie's going to start us with bent knee, folded arms across the chest. It looks like this. The next one Razzie will demonstrate is bend and hang. Again, she will just hang down with her knees slightly bent. And if they have a back that's bothers them, like a lower back problem, she can actually rest on her knees and take some of the stress off the lower back. Our next stretch is called quad and knee. Here, Lakeisha will grab her foot and she will keep the heel away from the buttocks as much as possible, and that will give her a good quad stretch. Our next stretch is the calf stretch. Lakeisha is going to put one foot in front of the other. She's going to use Razzie as the wall, and she's going to lean in with her hips and stretch out the calf area. The next stretch I call calf and Achilles. Here, Lakeisha will assume somewhat of the same position, except this time she's going to drive both knees into the ground, making sure that both heels are flat on the ground. The next stretch I call a calf stretch, lean right and lean left. It looks like this. She'll lean her hips one way and then lean them the other. The next stretch is a groin stretch. And here, Razzie is going to put her heels as close to the groin area as possible. Again, not pulling up on the toes, but just sitting in a comfortable position. Again, a key point in this is do not pull up on the toes. Our next stretch is a lower back stretch. And here, Lakeisha is going to bring up her knee, reach in under the knee, and again, don't come over the top of the knee, come under the knee, and she's just going to pull the leg up for a nice lower back stretch. And then she'll switch legs and do the other leg. Our next stretch is the hurdler stretch. And here Lakeisha will take one foot and put it under the knee instead of out. This will create a bent limb in the front leg, and then she will go out over in a hurdler's position in a nice, relaxed, comfortable position. Our next stretch is the secretary stretch. Here Razzie will loop over a leg, lay back, and push the leg down. A great hip stretch. We call it secretary stretch. Our next stretch are ankle rolls. So Razzie will demonstrate ankle rolls. And then I'm going to ask her to do some foot massage with her thumbs all across the arch of the foot. Our next three deal with the shoulder and arm area. The first one is arms across. Gabe will work both arms. The second one is called a back scratcher. Gabe will go over the top of his back, from the back, and the third one is called lace him up. And a key on this is to make sure that he keeps his chin and his chest out and his chin up. Our next stretch is called a split stretch. Here Razzie will demonstrate. And she will switch legs. The next stretch is called foot to opposite hand. Here Doug will go slowly to demonstrate. And then he'll pick up the pace just a little bit. Our next set of stretches are called 4x4s with passive resistance. Here, Gabe will show you the direction that he will apply force, and he will take Bryan that direction, and Bryan will push away at a 4 count. And he'll do it 4 count 4 times with Bryan pushing and Gabe resisting. Next, Gabe will bring Bryan's feet toward him, and Bryan will pull back. Now, Gabe is going to hold him from going out, and Bryan is going to push out. Next, Gabe will push him from coming up, and Bryan will bring his feet up 4 times at a 4 count. The next stretch is called PNF stretching, or proprioceptor neuromuscular facilitation. Here, Gabe will slightly bend Bryan's front knee, take him forward to a position that Bryan can no longer take it, and now Bryan will push back at Gabe. Gabe will be giving passive resistance. Again, Gabe will take Bryan up to the point where he feels a little bit of tension, which usually the athlete says they can't take it anymore. And then Bryan will then push back at Gabe. Gabe is doing passive resistance stretching, again called PNF, or proprioceptor neuromuscular facilitation. In closing, I hope you find this tape informative. I hope that some of the drills and techniques that we've used, you'll be able to fit into your program. Again, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank my coaching mentors, Tony Vini, Lauren Seagrave, Dan Pfaff, Orrin Richburg, Tony Wells, and Phil Lomborg. I'd also like to take the opportunity again to thank North Thurston Public Schools for the use of South Sound Stadium in our filming today. I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank my wife Sherry and my 2 sons Andrew and Stephen for their unconditional support. Thank you very much, and have a great day.